The love story of Zeus and Hera isn't your conventional Romeo and Juliet. In this story, our Romeo, Zeus, is a notorious womanizer, and our Juliet is Hera, the goddess of marriage. So, what was the moment of love at first sight for Zeus and Hera? Well, to start, this love story might have been one-sided. Zeus wanted to have Hera by his side as the queen of the gods, as he ruled over the universe. Hera, however, had no intention of ever becoming Zeus's wife. She rejected all the marriage proposals she received from him. Ouch. Nonetheless, he was relentless and cooked up a scheme that would see Hera soften her cold stone heart. One day, Zeus transformed himself into a rain-soaked, helpless little bird whose sight was enough to melt even the iciest of hearts. When Hera saw the little bird, she took pity on it. She took the little creature and nestled it in her bosom to dry it and give it warmth. At that moment, Zeus transformed back into his true form, and Hera couldn't help it. She fell in love with him. This time, when he asked her to be his wife, she obliged. And this, folks, will be the beginning of a vicious cycle of lust, infidelity, jealousy, and vengeance that would be the cornerstone of their relationship. The wedding of Zeus and Hera. Should anyone present know of any reason that this couple should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace. Too bad no one said anything. I mean, everyone was too busy celebrating and dining. Zeus and Hera's marriage ceremony was the first of its kind in Olympia. It was hugely celebrated with lots of feasting and merriment at the Garden of Hesperides. All the deities were in attendance and they presented them with lots of magnificent gifts. Gaia, the earth goddess, and grandmother to the bride, gifted Hera with an enchanted tree that when planted would produce exquisite golden apples. Once the festivities came to an end, Zeus and Hera had a glorious wedding night that lasted a staggering 300 years. Together, the two lovebirds had 3 children in 300 years. Ares, the god of war, Aletheia, the goddess of childbirth, and Hebe, the goddess of youth. And then was the beginning of the toxic warfare. The honeymoon phase of their marriage was short-lived, thanks to Zeus's philandering ways. No woman was off-limits to him. He had countless affairs with goddesses, nymphs, and mortals alike. This turned Hera into a jealous, vengeful wife, who spent all her time on Mount Olympus spying on her husband and plotting revenge against his lovers. Her wrath wasn't just limited to Zeus. She directed her anger to the offsprings he had outside their marriage, like the famous Hercules. But, maybe I should mention, Hera was not the first and surely not the only wife of Zeus. Zeus not only took part in the occasional affairs, or 200,000 of them, but was also married to just a few other women. So it seems we should start at the very beginning. The first wife, Metis. Metis was the one who supplied a young Zeus with a special potion that caused Cronus to throw up and release all of Zeus's siblings who had been swallowed. And how did Zeus repay Metis for this favor? Well, he swallowed her whole. Gaia and Uranus had prophesied that the son of Zeus and Metis would one day dethrone Zeus, and so, having seen the same plan fail for his father Cronus, he decided to do the same thing. Zeus and Metis did, however, have one child, whom I'm sure you're familiar with. Athena was born from Zeus's forehead, as a regular birth was not possible, given Zeus had eaten her mother. The second wife, Themis. Themis was the Titan goddess of law and justice. From this union came the Horai and the Morai, also known as the seasons and the fates. The third wife, Eurynome. Another Oceanide who bore the Charities, 3 goddesses also known as the Graces. The fourth wife, Demeter, who bore Zeus a daughter we know as Persephone. The fifth wife, Mnemosyne, the Titan goddess of memory. From this union came the 9 muses. The sixth wife, Leto, who had fled to the island of Delos to give birth to Artemis and Apollo. And that brings us to Hera, the seventh wife. The last of the 7 wives, according to Hesiod, was Hera, the queen of the gods. But apparently, that wasn't enough for Zeus, so let's take a quick trip down Zeus's playbook and get to know his many lovers. Danae. Danae is the mother of Perseus. Danae was the daughter of King Acrisius, the ruler of Argos. King Acrisius was extremely frustrated by his lack of a male heir, and so he decided to seek out the Oracle of Delphi to inquire whether he would have a change in fortune. The answer was no. But she did tell him that his daughter Danae would have a son. She also told him that the son would one day take his life. Returning home, King Acrisius took his daughter and locked her up in a subterranean bronze chamber. He decided his daughter would remain childless if he buried her alive in a tomb under his palace. The chamber was sealed shut. There were no doors or windows. The only source of light and air came from a tiny skylight. Luckily for Danae, Zeus had taken a liking for her, and a pesky, impenetrable underground bunker wasn't going to get in his way. Zeus took the form of golden rain and showered Danae through the skylight, impregnating her. The king now just wouldn't murder his daughter and grandchild, and so he had to place them in a barrel and cast out at sea. The prophecy still came true, albeit much later when Perseus accidentally struck him in the head with a javelin. Europa. When Zeus came across Europa picking up flowers in a field, he appeared as a bull that smelled of fresh flowers. Naturally, Europa's attention was drawn, and when she hopped on his back, Zeus jumped into the sea and swam to the island of Crete. Zeus then revealed himself and made Europa the first queen of Crete. 2 of their sons, Rhadamanthus and Minos, became kings of Crete. Nemesis. The story of Nemesis is one of the more notoriously strange stories. Nemesis was the goddess of divine retribution, and thus not someone you'd wish to anger unless you were Zeus. Nemesis rejected Zeus's advances and took several different forms in an attempt to escape from him. One form she took was that of a goose, and this prompted Zeus to chase her down, disguised as a swan. This time he was successful in his chase, and Nemesis would lay an egg. That egg was then given to Leda, the queen of Sparta. From this egg would hatch Helen of Troy. Alcmene. When Zeus appeared to Heracles' mother, Alcmene, he did so disguised as her very own husband. Although this didn't necessarily cause her too many issues with Hera, it did, however, doom Heracles to a lifetime of hatred. Asteria. The Titan goddess Asteria flew across the heavens disguised as a quail to try and escape Zeus. In the end, she dove into the sea and transformed into the island of Delos. Persephone. Fans of Hades and Persephone will be disappointed to know that Zeus seduced Persephone on 2 separate occasions. The first time, before her marriage to Hades, was in the form of a serpent, where Persephone gave birth to a god known as Zagreus. The second time was during her reign as queen of the underworld. However, this time he appeared as his brother Hades. Io. Zeus's next lover, or victim Io, a priestess of Hera. Zeus lusted for Io immediately upon seeing her. However, Hera at this point kept a close eye on Zeus. To avoid being caught, Zeus transformed Io into a cow. Hera couldn't prove that this cow was one of Zeus's lovers, but she was well aware of her husband's trickery. She demanded that Zeus give her that cow as a gift, to which Zeus had no real option but to agree. Hera then had a giant Argus, Panoptes, guard the cow. Argus had over 100 eyes, making it impossible for Zeus to sneak past and transform Io back into a woman. The ever-reliable Hermes was sent to deal with the giant, tricking him into a deep slumber and taking his life. Zeus then transformed Io back into a woman and set her free. Callisto. The daughter of King Lycaon and a follower of Artemis. Remaining a virgin was fairly important to Callisto, as she wished to remain in the cult of Artemis. That didn't last long, as Zeus came across Callisto in the forest. His advances at first were rejected, and so he planned to return in the form of Artemis. Surely Callisto would be unable to reject the advances of her patron goddess. This time, he was successful, and shortly after, Callisto fell pregnant with his child. The next time Callisto came across Artemis, she was invited to bathe with her and her followers in a river. Reluctantly, Callisto undressed, unrevealing her belly. Artemis, furious that her vow had been broken, transformed Callisto into a bear, so she could never be with her son. The next time they saw each other, her son didn't recognize Callisto, and so they took each other's lives. Not wanting to anger Hera anymore, Zeus did not intervene when Callisto begged and pleaded to transform her back into a woman. After her death, Zeus placed both Callisto and her son in the sky as constellations, Ursa Major and Minor. Lamia. Lamia was the queen of Libya, and many would travel thousands of miles just to admire her beauty. Zeus had given Lamia 2 children. When Hera learned of the affair, she took those children away. Some stories say Hera took the lives of those children, and others say she tricked Lamia into taking the lives of her children. This drove Lamia insane. Hera then transformed her into a monster and cursed her with insomnia. Her eyes would never close. And so, Lamia became a monster who snatched away children and devoured them. Zeus eventually found Lamia and gave her the ability to remove her eyes, allowing her to finally rest. Semele. Semele was a priestess of Zeus. He was observed sacrificing a bull at his altar. As the story goes, he fell in love, and soon she was carrying his child. Hera, once again observing this affair, came up with a new way to punish this lover. She took the form of an elderly woman, appearing to Semele and befriending her. Semele, excited to finally tell someone, told the elderly woman that the father of her child was indeed Zeus. Hera pretended not to believe her. How could she possibly know Zeus was the father of her child if she had never seen his true form? The doubts planted by Hera began to bother Semele until she asked Zeus for one favor. She had Zeus swear an oath on the river Styx to grant her whatever she requested. Semele then told Zeus she wanted to see him in all his glory. Zeus begged and pleaded for her to reconsider, but he was unsuccessful in changing her mind, and so he did as promised, revealing his divinity. No mortal was able to look upon the true form of a god, and Semele was no exception. She burst into flames and died. Zeus was able to rescue the child by sewing him into his thigh, a child that would be born later on and that we know as Dionysus. And all these makes for some, not all of the affairs in Zeus's playbook. There are countless nymphs and mortal women who only appear by name, and even more so who are nameless. So to sum things up, that, folks, is why Hera is the jealous, wrathful woman we know.
If you liked our video, don't forget to subscribe and follow our channel for more videos like this one.